Hello everyone, how you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day, and today we are here with a video on Old School Runescape's Black Friday. Of course, it is Black Friday in real life as well. Hopefully you guys had a good Thanksgiving. I am thankful to be back and making some videos for you guys, so hopefully you enjoy. Today we'll be talking about some market stuff. I'll be doing some more market type videos going forward. I used to really enjoy them a lot. I was kind of turned off by all the people that used to, there's a big market manipulation flurry of people, and at this point, people understand what I'm in it for. I don't care about any of that. I don't know why someone that's kind of a public figure in RuneScape would want to manipulate markets to make money to, sell, I guess? I don't know. Nonetheless, I've lost all sense of care, and now I will freely enjoy talking about it as I please. And man, this is quite a time to do it, because botted items, all-time low, armor, a pretty recent low, and it's just such an opportunity to buy, I think, depending on what you're looking to get into. Maybe if you're looking to train certain skills. I mean, it's just pretty wild times if you have some cash on hand, what you are able to do with that. So let's just go ahead and kind of get into what I'm seeing with the market right now. So we'll start with botted items, because that is definitely the hottest topic of debate, I think, and the most intriguing. So it all started with Twitch Prime. That's where you get a free week of membership if you hook up your account and whatnot. And with that, there just becomes a ton of, fake or spam Amazon accounts that people get with membership, and they hook it up for cheaper. However that works out. Basically, tons of bots come into the game because of these things. And Giants has ran 2 in the last month and a half. So it's been very abundant lately, and as we'll come to see, it's been on a bad track for a while now. Some of the mods have kind of talked about on Twitter what they're doing. Mod Trident said he's banned 50k accounts for botting this weekend, and Mod Tyrann said that he has banned 3,000 real-world traders. So obviously a lot, but Giants does this all the time. They always have these problems. Bots are a continual thing. They do not stop. So essentially, Giants has had trouble with dealing with bots for, as long as they've existed. It's gotten worse lately, and with these promotions, it's gotten even worse than that. So this is what has led us to where we are now. Cue the graphs. But actually, before we get to the graphs, these graphs are going to be brought to you by GE Tracker. They're a partner with me, and you guys can check out their promotional link down below if you want to. There's a free service, and there's a paid service, and you can enjoy it if you like. It's a nice little flipping tool. Also helps me kind of look at the market and see what's going on. But with that said, let's get to the graph. We'll start with raw sharks right here. This one is quite interesting. You'll see on a monthly trend that they have been going up, which is, it's good. It's a good sign. That's a step in the right direction. There actually is a tweet by Mod Tyrant that they were kind of banning bots from minnows, so that makes sense why these have gone up, and I mean, them confirming that also kind of helps out for the projection of these going forward, because if they're focused on them, then they'll go up in theory, because there'll be less supply. But let's go to the yearly graph. I mean, now, I will admit, raw food and sharks and just food in general, we're kind of at a high right here. This really isn't typical. I mean, it's kind of typical, but they float between here. This is about as low as they ever go. And as you can see on a yearly scale, they've more than halved in price. And, that retrace that we saw a little bit here was nice, kind of bounced back up a little bit, but overall, it's still horrible. And this kind of shows you the trend of those bots. Probably were being pretty well sustained from December all the way up until April, and like with most of the items that we'll end up seeing, April and March is kind of where it just goes downhill, and it just keeps going and going. And I think now we're just kind of seeing the final bit of exacerbated botting that's going on, that's maybe going to propel this to be fixed. That's my assumption. I don't know how these prices can keep going down, and if they do, it's horrible for the game, because a pivotal item that shows this again is the red Chinchampa. This is the best ranging method in the game, is throwing these. And right now, it's not that expensive at 1k a pop. Over the last month, nothing seems to have been done about these. They have gone down another 100 GP in the last month. On a yearly scale, again, a lot like sharks, 1.7 to 2k for most of December through April, and then April just and continues and just keeps on going. Now, as far as when these Twitch Prime things took place, it was early October and early November. So saw low prices there and saw low prices again kind of in November. And so, I mean, it obviously is not helping. The most atrocious drop, I think, has been the Pharaoh Scepters, but it makes sense because they're kind of seldom. Pyramid Plunder, not a ton of people are doing, so if you force a ton of bots there, it's gonna be really bad. And as you can see here, it's really bad. 3.1 mil all the way down to 2 in the matter of like 2 weeks. And they were 3.4 just a month ago. On the yearly scale, these big dips, don't focus on those. Those aren't actual dips. Basically, the high prices are what you want to look at. Floating between 5 to 8 mil at their peaks, sometimes going down to 2 to 3 mil during a bad botting time, and again, back down to 2 mil. Now, might seem like a good one, but again, you just never know if the botting's going to end, because if it doesn't and Pharaoh Scepters keep getting pushed in, there's just going to be, almost enough to be able to manage the little supply or demand that they have. Not a lot of people are going to be needing tons of Pharaoh Scepters, so if they keep getting flooded into the game, they'll just keep crashing. And then lastly, I mean, this will give you the final little piece of information that you need, and it shows how bad it could get, is that Zora scales are doing the same thing. They're getting heavily botted too, and this was kind of something that was talked about in the past, was that Zora is bottable, and we should put it behind a higher requirement quest. Now, we've never done that yet, but, I mean, realistically, they're down to 140, 147 here. I mean, in recent memory, the last 3 years or so, the lowest they've ever been is like 110. And most of the time, the lowest they would be was like 120, 130. So this, I mean, is terrible, especially when you consider where they've been this year. Beforehand, we were going through a time where people didn't know where Zora scales would stop climbing to. And then they settle at 250. And again, in April, just keeps dropping. So, I don't know. I don't know what happened in April. I don't know if there's a certain mod that got let go that, maybe was killing it. I don't know if, they just stopped caring as much. I realistically don't know. So I don't know who to place the blame on. All I know is that there are tons of bots, and holy man, this is just awful to see. So the final part, GTracker has this nice little like market index list. It basically shows like all of a bunch of types of items put together. So there's a bot/farm index, which has all these things that you can see down here, just anything that's probably bottable. And over the last, well, I guess year we'll go to, you can see that, I mean, the average point on this graph is probably about at 100, and now we are, down to 75 to 80. I mean, somewhere in there. And on an all-time trend, you can see that this is basically the lowest we've ever been. There was a time for 2019 that we were, bordering this close, but we kind of had that resurgence, banning bots again, keeping it under control, and then just boom, again, right here, April, and down. It's so tough. Personally, I think botted items are a decent investment, just because I don't understand how Jagex could just keep letting these like fall. But again, trusting Jagex to ban bots is a tricky game that is by no means a guarantee. Next fun little topic I wanted to hit on is the price of bonds right now. If you know anything about it, they have gotten out of control, so we'll talk about it. Now, it all depends on kind of when you, I guess, started paying attention to bond prices, kind of determines your outlook on this. Like 6 mil, if you told me that was the price of bonds, a year and a half ago, I would have been not that surprised, because, a couple years ago, we were hitting the point where bonds were about 5 mil a piece. But if we look here on this yearly scale, I mean, people for a good while during April, May, June, July, just right here, we had bonds at 3.5 mil a pop. People kind of got used to that. And as you can see, a year ago, they were kind of coming off of a high. So it's not crazy that this is where we are now. But whenever you have leagues going on, whenever you have, people wanting to play alt accounts and be more dedicated to them, you're obviously going to see a spike in price, and that is what we've seen over kind of the last month. And there is a promotion out as well, and will be out for a little bit, I'd imagine, that you can kind of get more for your bonds membership wise. So those two things combined make sense why these are so high. They have peaked probably close to 7 mil recently on certain days, but it's just kind of when you find them, how it goes. Overall, I'd say that they are probably due to fall back down again. They typically go through this cycle because once they hit a high enough price, people just want to start buying bonds and start bringing it back down. And it's just the ebbs and flows of people wanting to buy GP and, you know, buy membership. And that's just how it is. There's literally a weekly cycle of bonds. Every Friday, Saturday, they drop a ton, and every Wednesday, Thursday, they're worth a lot more. It's a fickle market. You kind of have to play to the crowd that is at hand. And the final topic is going to be gear. It kind of plays hand in hand with the leagues because gear prices have been dropping for a bit, and I feel like they've kind of bottomed out because a lot of people are again playing league or just not as focused on their main account grinds, maybe doing skilling grinds on the side or something of the sort. It definitely isn't a time in which gear is highly sought after. I think our biggest fallers relatively is probably the Dragon Hunter selection. The Dragon Hunter Lance has been hovering at like 90, 80, yeah, about 90 to 100 mil for most of the last year, and then has been falling pretty steadily. A lot of gear has been, and then as we can see kind of more in line of when league started, we get that big dip in gear. And I mean, something like the Dragon Hunter Lance hasn't really even rebounded. Some stuff has. It's kind of rebounded to about this price right here. So you're not buying at the absolute bottom, but again, on a quarterly scale, you're buying extremely low, even if it has bounced back up a bit. One of the reasons I think Dragon Hunter weapons fall a lot is because they're a very attentive thing to use. Like whenever you go to Warcath or Dragons in general, you're going to have to be paying attention, so it doesn't really bode well with leagues and stuff like that. And I think they're kind of a luxury good that if you're not doing Vorkath or whatever that you need it for, you just kind of let it go. Maybe you spend that money on something else like some bonds, some skill, and whatever. It's not a necessity for people, so it's easy to let go, I think, and you'll probably wait the longest to buy it back when you need it. And, I mean, as you'd expect, much the same with the Dragon Hunter crossbow. It has not fallen that low. That is not a correct price, but you get the idea, down to 88 mil right there, and for the most part, it's been over 100 mil leading up to this fall. Go through a few more just to kind of show what's going on here, and I really think that the main items that have fallen a lot, like I said with Dragon Hunter Lance, are like luxury goods, things that are really expensive that you only kind of need for somewhat niche things, and the Sanguinesti staff is another thing in that camp. If we look on a yearly graph, you can tell that it's actually, you know, not that cheap. I mean, relatively, it's 108 mil. It was 80 to 90 mil back here, but I will say back here it didn't have the same use in game that it has now. It's kind of more fixed into metas, so that's what's caused its price to go up. Also, it's a weapon that heals you, and it comes from raids 2, which is kind of hard to do. So in my opinion, raids 2 items are kind of due to bounce back up a little bit because the cumulative items there aren't that expensive, I think, for the effort and, you know, knowledge needed to kill Theater Blood. So I think it's a kind of a justifiable rise, and the sharp dip, I mean, relatively to recent prices, it was 120, 130 mil, so 108, not a bad price to get it at. You also have the Garazi Rapier, which on the last month has come up a little bit. It dipped pretty sharply at 142. When this weapon and a lot of like high-priced weapons fall, they fall pretty quick and they bounce back really quick. It's just kind of how it goes. People really aren't sure on what their stable price should be, so they're just kind of hot and cold. But on a yearly scale, these used to be 190. And they've consistently dipped a little bit here and there, but you know, anytime something's going to be needed as far as a stabbing boss, as long as it's not a dragon, this is going to be the thing. So if you can buy it at 150, eventually I could see it, you know, having some sort of bounce up when it's needed in some sort of meta that you can make some good money on. And again, some of these arbitrary points down here that I'm sure didn't happen, but basically it's lowest price all year. And then finally we have the blowpipe, kind of something that fits both camps, both the botted camp and the gear camp, and you know, we can see just absolutely horrible results. Again, the April decline, you see it right there, 4 to 5 mil all year, and then now it is down to close to 3 mil, man. It's the best range item in the game, I think, you know. So yeah, you can take away whatever you want from these videos. Overall, I think it's a very intriguing time if you have a lot of cash to be able to splash around, to think about where you'd want to put that and how you want to benefit yourself the most. And I look forward to hearing your guys' opinions down below on what you think might be the best investment going forward, and maybe how some of this plays out. Will Jagex figure out how to stop botting? Will we? Will they? Who knows? But hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you guys did, make sure to leave a like. Anything you want to tell me, let me know in a comment down below. If you guys want to see more videos like this as soon as I go live, make sure to subscribe and let me know you enjoyed it down below again. First video like this in a while. Pretty excited to put it out. So happy to talk some stonks with you guys today. Hopefully you have a good one, and peace.